Hey folks, welcome back to Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. We're here in the Undead Crypt, and we are closing in on Vendrick. We know he's here somewhere. Agdane just told us that. We just have to get to him. But it's not going to be easy. The Undead Crypt is a darned tough area. I have failed this recording a plural number of times, and I will not be any more specific than that. And there's one thing you can do to make it easier, and a couple things you can do to make it harder. You may remember that in the last episode, Agdane told us not to produce light, because the dark is a comfort to the dead, and light makes them annoyed. Light, used sparingly and wisely, can actually be helpful, because you can see better. And seeing is good in this game. It's good to be able to see the things you are trying to fight. Misused, used overzealously, as I will, and I will show you, it can be a major problem. First, I want to show you this great ladder. See this wonderful, excellent ladder that has nothing weird about it, nothing untoward? Really look at it. Really inspect it. There's nothing weird. There's nothing out of place. Good. All right. Now, I want to draw your attention to this alternate path down here that becomes a lot more visible if you have a torch lit. Oh, come on. That could have gone better. At least they're not dangerous. There's also an invisible enemy here. That's not how physics work, but I'll take it. And we're back to this totally wonderful and not at all suspect ladder. Isn't this a great ladder? A really peaceful ladder that we don't have to worry about anything with. It's a trap. Yeah, there's a ghost in the wall. There's no visual indicator that there's a ghost in the wall, even though every other place there's a ghost in the wall. You can tell there's a ghost in the wall because their like sword sticks out. But yeah, there's a ghost in the wall, and if it hits you and you've taken a hit or two from the undead down there, you are probably gonna fall off and take a bunch of fall damage and die. So that's great. It's probably the closest the series ever gets to having a ladder mimic. And you got chest mimics. People have thought about, oh, what if there were door mimics and bonfire mimics or ladder mimics, and that comes pretty close. Anyway, I took away my my ranged equipment there just because I wanted to make sure I didn't accidentally switch to it when I was trying to switch between strike and sharp, strike and slash, which I will be doing quite a bit in this episode, most likely. Now, we've seen how the light helps us see things, and that's good. Here is your indicator that light is not always 100% good, because lighting that sconce causes a dark spirit to spawn. And I'm having a tough time with this guy. So this is what's known as an Insolent. The Insolents are a kind of a group of clerics that one of them will probably drop equipment talking about it, but they entered into the Undead Crypt trying to do some nasty business, and then it didn't go well for them, and now they are conscripted into the Undead Army, and they have to protect this place forever. Sucks to be them. Now, I was definitely getting stun locked by that guy pretty bad. I'm wondering if I might want to equip a Ring of Giants +1, increase my poise. Because there are a couple enemies in this area, the Insolent and another enemy that we'll see pretty soon, that have pretty tough combos that I've definitely been locked into before. So I'm going to try that ring, see how well it does me. Anyway, we are presented with a fog door, but we are also presented with a little drop-off. A little side path. Speaking of dudes with poise... Oh, and they dropped something. Reeves' Great Shield. Excellent. Dropped one of his shields, which is cool. Get that going. Shield of the knights who long ago attempted to conquer the Undead Crypt. They bore no weapons, only a shield split into left and right halves, which they used to playfully crush their foes until their corpses were needed beyond recognition. The engraving depicts two messengers from the hereafter who welcome the recently dead by reviewing the merits of their deeds in life. So a fun little bit of religion. Yeah, so I think there's that one summon we can get, who I don't remember the name of, who also dual wields shields, and I think he dual wields those shields. It's a gimmick build, to be sure, but a pretty cool one. These guys can also drop their armor. I think they're called the Imperious, which is very similar to the Isolent, and they have a similar backstory, so I often get them mixed up. Anyway, we'll take that ladder up, but first, do you want to make this area even harder than it already is? Then I have a proposition for you. Light this statue on fire. Why? Because the developers tell you not to. I don't really know what that means. So yeah, this is a terrible idea. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't light it on fire. It will only cause you suffering unless you really, really want the Insolent set. Because if you light that statue on fire, all throughout the level, Insolent will start to spawn. That went better than I expected. But by all throughout the level, I mean all throughout the level, including places we've already been, such as up there. Actually, bust my crossbow back out here. Come on up. I don't want to fight you down there. There we go. So these guys can drop either kind of spice. I think it's interesting that this this group of clerics. Have we learned that they're clerics yet? They drop stuff that tells us they're clerics. This group of clerics has Skeptic's Spice, which is an item that allows you to use miracles that require more faith than you actually have. Interesting that a cleric would be deficient in faith. Anyway, take a good look at these very ominous statues. We will see their relevance in just a little bit. And here, let's climb up here. Grab that soul, and this drops us off right by this bonfire, which isn't actually very far ahead. It's literally right around the corner from the fog gate that we walked past. So I'm just gonna come back in here. If you didn't draw that guy's aggro from down there, he would attack you as soon as you walked out. Speaking of attacking you as soon as you walk out, there is still one more around here. He spawns down under there, and then will usually climb up the ladder to come get you in person. Usually. I've had to track him down. I've had to run down there before, which is why I destroyed the ghost. Oh, I am fat rolling. I'm fat rolling because of the Ring of Giants. I'm sorry, I said fat rolling by instinct. That's not a good way to refer to that. That's bad. Okay, let's find some slightly lighter gloves that also look good. New. God, they're all gonna be cloth, aren't they? Nope. That's not bad. It's not at all helpful, but it's not bad. How's that? Nah. Yeah, these are some neat accessories to my look. All right, back to regular roll. All right, so let's move on into what is probably the meat of the Undead Crypt, the really difficult part. You'll note a bunch of different things about this room. Get rid of crossbow. You'll note all the rocks that are almost definitely tombstones here. You'll note there are skeletons. You'll note there are undead. And all these tie together in various ways to make this an experience that requires a fair amount of finagling. There's a lot of different factors all kind of going on at once here. Okay. So what I usually do is I kind of patrol the room, I take care of all the skeletons that are around, make sure that they've all spawned and that I've killed all of them. And then I focus on these dark statues. You see that there are some that look like bells. You'll also find that there are a couple that look like, I don't know, kind of like medieval knight gravestones almost. And those tie into a mechanic surrounding another particular enemy. The Ladia Pyromancers, the Ladia Apostles, I think? I don't know what their official name is. But basically, Ladia Pyromancers will spawn from these knight statues under two particular circumstances. One, when you get close to the statue. Two, when the bell is rung. If a bell rings, all of the knight statues in the room will spawn a pyromancer. Assuming that it hasn't already spawned a pyromancer and there's already one out. Each statue can only spawn one pyromancer at a time. And the pyromancers are probably the most dangerous enemy in this area, because they have a pretty diverse moveset. They can do pyromancy, as you might expect. They can also shoot sorceries, and they have a decent melee attack that, again, locks you into a chain. It's very hard to escape. Hopefully the Ring of Giants will allow me to do so. So, once you've taken care of the skeletons, it's good to take care of these. You take care of the skeletons first, because the skeletons tend to swing pretty wildly and widely, and that can accidentally ring the bells, causing the, like, 3 pyromancers to all spawn at once. That's a lot of explanation. The one saving grace of the pyromancers is that they are pretty fragile. Ooh, blue flame. Let's check that out. That's their weapon. It's very cool. It's a straight sword wielded by Ladia Apostles, imbued with a special magic that makes the blue flame both a sword and a magic catalyst. Execute a strong attack to emit magic. The Ladia Apostles, adept at magic, wielded unique weapons, but were hunted down as traitors. So they are literal spell swords, which is so cool. I don't know if it's useful, but it's very cool. So, yes, take care of the skeletons, then go from statue to statue and take care of the pyromancers so that you don't get spawned by, like, 3 of them. Now, this whole time, there are also some undead hanging around. And the undead, you know, they don't cause a lot of damage. They can ring the bells, although they are much less likely to do so than the skeletons. And they are infinitely respawning. At certain spots, they will just appear every few seconds if you are close by. Which means you need to be careful about where you engage the more difficult enemies, like the pyromancers. Because you don't want to engage them in a place where you're just going to have an undead spawn every few seconds. Because then you're stuck in a 2-on-1 all the time. There we go. So again, luckily pyromancers are fragile, so if you can take care of them quickly, they won't be able to do much damage. But as we will see probably in the next room, they have some strong offensive magic capabilities, which are hard to avoid in a room full of these tombstones that obstruct your movement. There are a lot of factors all going together in this room, in this area. Also, look carefully. See how there's a sword sticking out of the wall? It's a ghost. This one you can actually tell is there. Okay, so once you've taken care of the pyromancer statues, then it's probably a good time to run around and actually collect the items. So you don't have to worry about the bell spawning pyromancers, and the undead themselves that spawn are not very dangerous. Alright, I think I've gotten everything in this room. Good to go? Alright, so progress is through that door, but I recommend using an alternative route, this ladder. Because, as we'll see when we peek up here, there are 2 enemies up here. In the dark, you just might be able to make out a witch, and there's also another Isolent, both of which have ranged spell options that can snipe you if you go down there on the ground floor. Obviously, if you didn't light the statue on fire, that Isolent will not be there. And this is a tough encounter. It's a pretty enclosed space. If you roll poorly, you might fall down onto the ground where there are a bunch of tombstones and undead and skeletons and pyromancers, and you will be in a bad situation that is tough to get out of. So try to stay up here. I recommend trying to take care of the witch first, because the witch is more fragile than the Isolent, and then you can turn it into a one-on-one. But don't just rush the witch, because the Isolent can definitely backstab you. It has done that to me before, and it is very rude. Oh, she's down there now. Is that going to be a problem? Is she going to be able to attack me? I don't think so. Okay. I'll try sniping her later. Okay, it looks like heavy attacks are the way to go against these guys. A two-handed heavy might actually stun them like it does a Haid Knight, but I don't want to give him my torch. Okay, let's open up this chest. Your prize for coming up here. Couple decent things. Dried fingers is the most interesting. Dried fingers with multiple knuckles. Shriveled, but radiating a peculiar warmth. By the number of knuckles, it couldn't have been human, but perhaps some questions are just best left unasked. So that's a PvP item. I believe it has something to do with invasions. Either it makes them more frequent, or it allows you to get invaded by more than one person at once. I don't know. I never use it, because that's not really what I play Dark Souls for. I'm not into the PvP. Okay, the witch is down there somewhere. I think I'm going to try to go around the long way. There is a statue right there, but I don't want to drop into a possible witch attack that I'm not prepared for while I'm trying to destroy that and take care of the pyromancer. So I'm just going to go the slow way. And I think there are skeletons in this room as well. Right. Alright, undead gonna come at me. There's one. And there's a skeleton, I hear it. Hope it doesn't ring a bell. There it is. So a reminder that skeletons are weak to strike weapons, much like armored enemies. And that is where that undead spawns. Looks like there's not much we can do other than take care of it and then take care of this efficiently. Think we're good. You know, there's one more pyromancer statue over there, so we still got to be careful of the bells. There's that witch. Bust out my crossbow. See if I can shoot over the tombstones, which I can. Excellent. Retreat and get my crossbow out of there, just in case. And there is another Insolent that is not currently in this room. I think he runs in from the next room, so I'm gonna play cautiously. And yeah, there he is. See him? He's dark. I think I want to bait him out, actually, because I don't want him ruining my fun while I'm trying to deal with the other pyromancer. So, come on over. All right. Yeah, heavy attacks seem to be the way to go there. Insolent gloves. I can't remember if I've read any of these because I've attempted this recording very many times. Gloves worn by once proud clerics, relics of a party who long ago attempted to conquer the Undead Crypt. For this sin, their deaths have been postponed, so they may serve as crypt sentries. So yeah, they're clerics. But you'll notice they use miracles and hexes, which seems to indicate that they are not as faithful as you might think a cleric would be. Possibly before, possibly after being entombed here. They made that change, I don't know. All right, and that's taken care of. That's taken care of. And we're good on this room. Bracing Knuckle Ring +2, very useful here. You'll remember Bracing Knuckle Ring slows equipment degradation. This one slows it even more. And in an area where there are a lot of tombstones we got to destroy, that's definitely an asset. Okay, so we've taken care of the Insolent in here already. I don't think there are any other enemies, which is good. Nope, there's Nameless Usurper. Oh, and some ghosts. You remember Nameless Usurper, right? We fought her in the in Drangleic Castle, and she is almost definitely that that cleric who we met in Hade's Tower of Flame, who I don't remember the name of. She's still not very difficult. Now I'm going to patrol here, just make sure there aren't any more ghosts. And also, I didn't realize this until I did some research. There is an invisible, or a fake wall there. Whoop. Scared me. And this gives you the Avalon. The Avalon is a dope as heck weapon. It is an extremely rare rapid-firing crossbow. Fire 3 successive bolts. Inflict heavy damage by making all 3 shots count. Fiorenza, the richest merchant in all of Volgan, recreated this lost weapon after reading of it in an old book. It's a crossbow that fires 3 shots at once. It's dope as hell. And that is where we are going to call this first episode in the Undead Crypt. I guess it's the second episode, wherever. We're going to call this an episode. In the next episode, we will delve even deeper and face even more dangerous foes. Well, really the same foes, just in more dangerous arrangements. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.